to really just. So anyway, so then when I left, when I started to leave, I wanted to go under Lloyd, but Lloyd didn't have his black belt long enough and hadn't been recognized by IBJJF. So he's like, man, go under Pedro Sauer with Mike Moses, because they were with Evolve and Frank Cucci and these guys and Greg Nelson and a bunch of really good guys. Eddie down in Eddie in like Atlanta. There's a guy named Eddie in Atlanta who's been around a long time. I can't think of his name right now. Really good guy. So all these guys are waiting to get there. Pedro hadn't given out a black belt yet. So we went to out to Utah to train. And of course, I murdered everybody, right? And so Pedro Sauer gives me a black belt off of his wall, like takes the Gracie stripes off it. I still have it, you know? And there was like, he gave me the black belt at the Gracie Worlds, but then people were mad. And he's like, don't put it on. So I waited a month till he came, and he promoted Greg Nelson and some other people. I think maybe he had already promoted Greg, but he didn't want me to be second because Greg Nelson had gone through like cancer and amazing guy too. So he had promoted him, but people were mad that I just joined the team and I'm beating out guys that have been there 10 years and I'm a 5-year guy. Frank Cucci, SEAL Team 6 guy. So he came up for my black belt ceremony, and I think now he had promoted Frank, and Frank came up because Frank was like, you know, I think Todd's a lot of tricks and I don't think he's that good, you know. And I submitted him 6 times in 10 minutes, and he was a world champ. And I submitted him with 3 basic chokes and then 3 fancier moves, you know, leg locks and stuff like that. And I remember I have a picture of him sitting on the side of the mat, just like, fuck, what just happened, right? and afterwards, and he said to me, you know, because Frank Cucci's a good dude and a world-class athlete, you know, he's legit. Filipino martial art, he's SEAL Team, he's badass, right? Yeah. But afterwards, he came up there, he's like, man, I was wrong. Like, you're freaking everything they say you are, you know? And so, and that was cool. You know, those moments are cool. So that was that. And then I ended up, Mike was wanting to do his own thing, and then we left Pedro, and then I went under Lloyd. I never left. So even when I competed, if you go back and look at those, like my Pan Am run, I had a Lloyd Irvin patch on my leg and a Pedro Sauer patch on my back.
See. Gotcha.
So I never, you know, I wouldn't completely abandon Lloyd, and Pedro knew that. And I just wanted to compete, man. That's all I want to do. Give me somebody who can sign off on me so I can go to compete.
He was in Maryland. You guys have the relationship for all those years. Yeah.
And he's been, you know, he's the one that had brought me there. Yeah. And Pedro Sauer has been wonderful to me, and he's friends. We're still good friends, you know, to this day. He's a warrior. He's legendary. I mean, he freaking like choked out Chuck Norris way back in the day when Chuck Norris was in Brazil. Nobody knows that story, but I mean, like, you know, it's just it's very. I've been blessed to have.
Yeah, he's the one that who brought like so much jiu-jitsu to the U.S.
Yeah,
his place of jiu-jitsu in America is, man, Pedro Sauer is like synonymous with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're in the know.
And he's another unbelievably charismatic guy. He could run for president. I mean, you just can't not love the guy, you know? Super smart. You'll find that most black belts are very smart. You know, he was a stock trader, and like, you know, you see the really successful guys, like they're all pretty bright guys, you know? It's impossible to be really good at this sport without having
problem solve, right? You have to problem solve. You have to see, okay, this is the issue. When you're young, whatever, you're using your body.
Right.
But it's the same thing in anything you do, right?
Right.
Real estate, stocks, business.
Exactly.
Same formula, same thing.
Got to come up with a plan. You got to problem solve. You got to, you know, see opportunity, and then you have to
go
act
for
on
it, try it.
Yeah, it'll work. So that was that, and then I got hurt. Right, I got hurt and herniated a couple discs in my back. And then, anyway, 2019 finally came back after a 15-year layoff, 15-year layoff, and won the black belt pans. Hurt. I did that hurt. And then went to the Worlds and didn't understand the scoring, and I thought I was winning, and I was still losing because I thought the negatives.
Back in those days, no, they had scoreboards back in those days already. The little flip scoring thing, you know.
But I didn't understand the negative because I'm like, he's got a couple negatives, so I'm winning now. Like they're like, I'm like, no, I'm like, what about the negatives? He's like, that only matters. You're still losing by 1 advantage, and I like lifted off But I looked at that match again. I thought I won that match because whatever. I mean, it happens. Again, 1 match away from medaling.
I think most important thing is that you're out there, you're doing it right.
I'm having fun, man.
And you're like, you spent like 2 hours with the guys last night, like just talking about stuff you've learned along the way, telling stories like crazy, and inspiring and helping people be better, right? And
well,
what is that worth?
Right.
Worth?
What's legacy now?
Right.
As we were talking about.